guys, welcome back to another December daily. This is story number 9, and this is going to be a story about the Christmas tree that I put up in our living room. This is the first year that we have had a Christmas tree up in the living room since we moved into the house, and we moved in the house about 2018. And the reason we haven't had a Christmas tree up here is because, one, we don't have a ton of room in the living room, but then also because we have cats. And the last tree we had was a pre-lit tree, and my cats would climb into the tree, and one of them chewed up the wiring of the pre-lit Christmas tree, which makes it very difficult to light your Christmas tree. So we had to actually use regular string lights on it, and that was a pain in the butt. So I didn't want that to happen again. So what I've been doing is we bought a brand new pre-lit, beautiful Christmas tree, and we've been keeping that in the basement, and we have a finished basement, but we really just don't hang out down in the basement. So it was really sad to have the Christmas tree down in the basement, but we're always upstairs in the living room. So I decided to buy a very thin kind of, I wouldn't call it a pencil tree. I'm not sure. It's just a really thin, skinny tree, and it fit very nicely between the fireplace and the TV stand. And it was pre-lit colored lights, and I decided that I would put that up and see how it would go. And it actually went fairly well at first. Didn't have any problems. I did put some cheap plastic ornaments on it because I thought, well, if the cats are playing with the ornaments and stuff and they knock them out of the tree, it's not going to be a big deal if they're plastic. Well, that only lasted for a couple days, and they kept knocking the ornaments out of the tree, and they were pushing them all around the floor at all hours of the day, at night, all kinds of stuff, and it was getting really frustrating. And I thought, okay, and they were climbing in the tree too. So I thought, well, maybe if I just take all the ornaments off and leave the tree as is. I ended up putting a little, what is it, a gnome topper on the top, and then took all the ornaments off. And as soon as I took the ornaments off, they actually left the tree alone. So we had an undecorated tree, which was kind of sad, but totally fine. I'd rather have the lights and the festivity of it all with that lit up at night than not have it at all in the living room. So that's what we went with. So anyway, that is enough for the story. Right now, I'm basically just working on this smaller kind of page. It is a notebook paper, and I have traced, or not traced, but I cut out this piece of paper with the ornaments on it, and now I am cutting this border piece that's going to go right up underneath the paper to kind of give it a little bit of a transition point between the decorative paper and the lined paper that's there. And then I will also pull out some different color ribbon. I'm going to pull out a gold and a sparkly red ribbon. This red ribbon is a sticky back ribbon, and the gold is just a regular gold ribbon. I end up putting the gold down with some 3M, the Beacon 3M glue that is good for fabric, and I really like that. And I was going to put down this entire strip, but then I decided it was just a little too wide, and I was only going to put the red strip down. But what I ended up deciding is I thought it would look really pretty with the gold and then the little thin red strip on it as well. So what I want to do is trim this ribbon out. So in order to do that, to get skinny, because it's really hard to hold, I ended up putting just a little bit of adhesive on the back of the ribbon so it would stick to the paper cutter, and then I cut it, and then that allowed me to have kind of a hands-free way of cutting it. Now I am taking the gold ribbon and I am figuring out how long that needs to be and just kind of seeing if I like the gold with the red, and I do. So I will, like I said, glue that down with that Beacon 3-in-1 glue. And the papers I'm using, oh, I can't remember. I think that ornament paper might be 4/9 in Maine. I'm not quite sure, but I did have that from paper that I had in my stash. It's not some of the paper that I've used, I don't think, yet this year, but I really like the ornaments and I thought it would go well with the tree. And then that sticker strip that has the scallops on it was from a sticker book that I had from last year as well. So just kind of tacking that down, making sure everything's glued nicely. I did cut it a little bit longer just so I had a little bit of room to play with, and I'll just trim that end off there. I'm also just wiping off a little bit of the extra adhesive that kind of seeped out the edges. And with the 3-in-1 glue, it works really well to rub it off kind of right after you put it down. In this case, it actually rubbed a little bit of the sticker off, but it wasn't a big deal because I was going to be putting this ribbon down. So not a big deal. So I'm just kind of pushing it all down so it sits a little bit nicer because it was bubbling up a little bit because I was using that glue eraser. And then I take a little bit of the art glitter glue, and just to make sure that ribbon's going to stick down. It's actually pretty sticky when I pull the sticky back off, but I just really wanted to make sure it stayed for the long haul. If I add just a little bit of that white glue there. And it takes me just a minute to get this backing off. It's like a clear backing. And then I will add that on right between the green scallop and that gold ribbon there. So hopefully you guys are doing well. If you guys are doing December daily, let me know in the comments below where you guys are at, what day you on, what story you on. Are you doing December daily at all? Are you doing something else? Have you moved on already with projects? Did you get your December daily done before the end of December? I obviously did not. I think I have a couple videos recorded already, and I think I'm up to day 12 maybe, or story 12 that I have recorded. So I'm hoping I have time to do voiceovers for those when it's not like February and you're still watching December daily videos. But I am back at work, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm really hoping to at least get up to about story 12-ish put on YouTube so you guys can watch that. So it will be a little bit into January, but hopefully you guys don't mind getting a little inspiration. And even though it is Christmassy, that does not mean that you can't use the things that I do in the techniques or the layouts and things for projects that are not Christmas. Like you can do spring and Easter and Valentine's the same way. It's just different pattern papers and such. So now I put that little sticker down the bottom, and then I have this chipboard piece from an Ellie Edwards kit that is the number 9, and I want to make it gold glittery, but I don't know why I'm doing it this way. Now, hindsight, I just should have put a bunch of white glue all over the 9 and then stuck the chunky glitter on. But for some reason, I decided that doing this embossing powder would be a better idea. I think really what I was thinking was putting the embossing powder on and kind of more encapsulating the glitter because I didn't want the glitter like falling all over the place. And I thought that would work better than me putting a bunch of white glue on it and then putting the glitter on like you did in school with your Elmer's glue. So for whatever reason, I'm just doing this instead. It did not work, but it didn't work either super well. So I actually end up doing this back and forth a couple times. Ultimately, I end up using some white glue and then sticking some more of the glitter on and just call it a day. And it stayed on pretty well. I was just really hoping that I could warm up this. If I used the ultra thick embossing powder, it might have worked better, but I was hoping I could warm this up enough that when I poured the glitter on, it would just stick, and it just didn't work very well. So when I try to reheat it just to make sure it's kind of melting into the embossing powder that I added on, it just really wasn't working. So you can see me just playing with it, and I don't show you this whole process because it took me way too long to do this. So you just see me kind of towards the end where I am adding some glue and then just pushing the number into the glitter a bit more to get more glitter on it. And it's staying pretty well. I mean, I'm sure some of it's going to fall off, but I think it's adhered decently well, and I'm not too awfully worried about it. The nice thing is it's a chunky glitter. I don't mind the chunky glitter as much. The fine glitter is the stuff that like stays around forever. This kind of cleaned up pretty nice, so it wasn't as crazy as I'm used to. So just kind of here, just still playing with it, trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing. And ultimately, you can see my chunky glittery 9 here in a couple minutes. I'm just gluing my photo down. I'm happy with the placement of that. It's going to go kind of in the top left-ish of this page. And then the number 9 is going to go above that filled with joy. I'm just going to glue that down with some liquid adhesive. And then I thought this page was still looking a little bit boring, a little flat. So I have extra paper from that ornament paper, and I am going to actually fussy cut out 3 different ornaments and then kind of layer them popped up on the actual photo. I put I put 4 ornaments altogether. I put 2 green ones and then I think 1 or 2 of the red ones, maybe. Maybe I only put 3. Either way, we'll see here in a minute. I end up putting them on some Stampin' Dimensionals. I don't even know if Stampin' Up sells those anymore, but I have some in my stash, and they're not super thick, which I thought were good. I wanted something a bit thinner. I wanted them to stick up a bit, but I didn't want them to stick up too much. This album is getting rather chunky. So I end up putting down the Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm going to layer them. I do put 4. I'm going to put 2 green ones, a red skinny one, and a red circle one. And I end up doing the two green ones over to the right hand side, and then the skinny red and the skinny or in the round red, I'm going to kind of overlap over the photo where you can see those ornaments, and it just kind of I like how it kind of fits into the photo a bit and gives it that dimension. I think if I just put them in the spots that was like open where the photo wasn't, it wouldn't look as kind of fun and cool. So I really like how this ended up turning out. So in a second here, when I pull all the backs off this adhesive, you'll be able to see that. And I probably could have spared you some of this boring glue dot sticking, but I didn't edit it out this time. Just trimming it up because I had some overhang. And then you can see here, I'm going to stick that guy right there. I'm going to stick this green one here, and I'm going to put a red one on the top left because I didn't want to cover up my dog's face. And then I end up cutting out another green one in a little bit. Yeah, so I'm going to do that now. And again, apparently I forgot to edit all this little fussy cutting out, so you get to watch me fussy cut this ornament. Fun times. Doesn't take me too long, but still, it's not the most exciting thing to watch. Gonna add some pop dots on that. And then I am super happy with how this is looking. I just really like those two ornaments that overlap. And I'm trying to decide if I want to add any more. And ultimately, I ended up deciding that I think this is enough. It just, the rest of the ornaments were either going to cover something up or they're going to be kind of like weirdly, awkwardly off the side of the page. So I just didn't end up cutting anything else out. Pulling all the little backings off. So like I said, I do have a couple more stories that I have recorded, so hopefully I'll get those voiceovers up and on and those videos published. I will definitely post them on both my Instagram and my Facebook account to let you guys know, but you can also on YouTube click the bell icon if you subscribe to my account. Then you can get notifications when I post another video. So that's a good way to get notified too, just in case I'm not super obviously consistent on publishing, so I'm not exactly sure what days they're going to go up. But if you want to get notified, you can do that bell icon. So here it is all done. I added the journaling on the page. And of course, I had a little bit too much journaling, so I need to figure out a solution for that. And what I'm going to end up doing is trimming out this tag, and I'm going to put a little pocket on the right-hand side of the page to kind of tuck it into the right-hand side to capture the rest of my journaling. Typically, I don't have a lot to journal, but in this particular day, it just was a little bit longer and it didn't quite fit in that space underneath the picture. So I think this is a good solution. So I just trim that out. I'm going to ink around the edges, punch a hole, and then add some fabric to the hole. And that will just tuck in the side there. And I'll show you how I make this little side pocket. I think I did that. Yes, I did. I think I did it on another page that you may have saw in a previous video. So it's going to be the same technique. I'm just going to be using some printer paper and cutting it into like a little kind of like envelope place, and then it'll get covered up when I actually do the second or the back side of this page with the next story, story number 10. So now I'm just gluing this all down. So I typed this all up on my vintage typewriter onto some teak or coffee dyed paper, cut them all up into little strips and then glued them down. I just really like the look of this. I've been doing that kind of technique for journaling quite a while in my December dailies, and I just really love the vintage typewriter. It's kind of fun to play on the vintage typewriter. I feel like a little kid playing when I was a little kid, so that's always fun. And I just like the look of it. I like the kind of rustic look of it. So perfect, I think, for December daily. And I do like to use that in some of my other journaling, but it's mostly my December daily. Mostly, I think when I scrapbook or I junk journal, I just use my normal handwriting. But this project, I do end up pulling the typewriter out. So that's just a fabric scrap that I had in my stash, just kind of playing with it carefully, trying to pull it. It looks like I'm being pretty aggressive there, but I was actually being very careful. I didn't want the paper to tear because it's just cardstock. So now I'm kind of measuring to see where I like that to go. And I really like how it fits right there. And I think it gives a cute element sticking up with the little blue color and then the red ribbon. It does stick out of the side of the book a little bit, just the ribbon part, not the paper, and I think that's just fine. I don't mind it sticking out. So I'm kind of measuring to see how I want to cut the paper to make sure it's going to fit in the pocket okay. And I want to make it a little bit bigger because what I want to do is I'm going to fold in the left and right side in the bottom. And then that way, when you try to slide the journaling card in or the tag, it's going to fit better. If you just glue around the edges and you do it flat, it's going to be a lot harder to get the tag in and out. It's going to have a little, it's not going to have as much, I guess, space, if you will. So it's giving it space without giving it too much space in bulk. Without, yeah, because otherwise, if you just glue down the edges, it would be a really tight fit. So this gives you just a little bit more room to work with. So now I am going to, oh, and I think that's what I was deciding. So I was going to just glue it down in the space that I traced around, but I decided that wasn't going to work, and I did want to have that little bit of extra space. So I'm just folding these up just ever so slightly, and I'm going to trim off the excess here just by doing a little bit of an angle on either side and then on the top so you don't see that peeking out on this other side of the page. And then I will put glue on the flaps there. And then that's going to be perfect. I end up measuring this before I put it on, and I realize it's a bit too tight, so I'm going to make the folds just a little bit skinnier so the tag fits in a bit better. So that works really well. I'm going to end up gluing that down. And this is pretty much getting to the end of the video. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. If you have any questions about anything I did, any comments, just if you want to chit chat, I love hearing from you guys. So really appreciate any comments that you leave. It just lets me know that you guys are watching and listening and would like to participate and talk with me. So that's always really nice. There you go. I'm going to slip that in the pocket. Probably should wait till it is dry, but it has some room, so it's not a big deal. And then I believe I pull up the page and show you a bit of a close-up so you can see it a little bit better. And I was just there making sure that the tag wasn't going to stick out the edge too much. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and I will see you again soon. A couple pictures are at the very end. Bye, everybody.